Good evening. Welcome to State Support Team 6 Family Engagement Series. Tonight's session is about parent rights in the special education process. My name is Kim Moritz, and I am the Family and Community Engagement Consultant for State Support Team 6. I am also on the special education team, where I focus my attention on post-secondary transition, and I am also involved in supporting several districts in our region with school improvement. If you have any questions tonight or in the future about this presentation or about any of these areas, please feel free to reach out to me at kmoritz@sst6.org. On the screen, I wanted to share a little bit of information about me. These are two of my kiddos, my only two kiddos, Matthew, who is 21, and Emma, who is 18. Matthew has multiple disabilities and has recently completed school. And Emma is 18 and just graduated this past spring. So we are transitioning into post-school life and embracing the journey and all the things that come with it. I wanted to make a connection to tonight's topic, between tonight's topic and the Ohio Department of Education's Strategic Plan for Education. ODE's plan is Each Child, Our Future. We want to make sure that each child is challenged, prepared, and empowered for their future. And if you notice in the center of this picture, is the child, the whole child, and then surrounding in our domains, goals, principles, and strategies that the Ohio Department of Education is committed to providing for your child. And the one connection that I want to make for you is about one goal. Our whole goal about education in the state of Ohio is that each child is going to have the opportunity to graduate and then become in one of the 4 E's, which is either enrolled in post-secondary school learning experiences, enlisted in the military branch, earning a living wage, or engaged in meaningful and self-sustaining vocation. That's our goal. And everything that's in place then is to help to support those students or our students to reach that one goal. This family engagement series focuses on one of the 3 core principles, and that's partnerships. In order to be a partnership, we need to make sure that all players in the game have the information that they need to be able to come to the table and have those conversations and to be able to partner with a district for the success of that child. So tonight's objective is to help you as parents and family members to increase your knowledge of parent rights in the special education process, to support your partnership with your child's district, educational service center, and or county developmental disability program. The power of parent participation has clear and consistent, there is clear and consistent evidence that it is important, that it is vital to the success of our students. There's research that shows that this partnership has improved children's attitudes towards school, their social skills and behaviors, and just the overall likelihood of success of that student. And this holds true for all families across all economic, ethnic, racial, and educational backgrounds, and for students of all ages. So it's so important that we've got that home to school partnership. And if you notice in this image too, in the very center is me, or the student, and we are better together. So let's get started in learning more information about parent rights in the special education process. Tonight, I'm going to be sharing with you multiple resources. All of those resources will be linked in the description section of this video on our website. So make sure that you check that out and you can access those links there, or you can always shoot me an email and I will be able to provide those for you. I found this video on YouTube about special education law, and I just thought it was a great resource for all of you history buffs out there who are interested in how this all came about. Sometimes we feel that we are in our own little world, in our own little district, but in actuality, there are federal laws that govern students with disabilities and the support, the education, and the related services or supports that they receive. So I really like this video because it's a brief history, first of all. It's not too technical. And as the author of the video goes through each law or each update to the law, they add a couple bullet points, what are the big hitters of that particular law. So starting in the upper left-hand corner is the Elementary and Secondary Education Act. This is back from 1965. That was the first federal law for students with disabilities. And what happens then is it progresses to the right to voc rehab and Section 504s, to Educational Amendment Acts, and to Education for All Handicapped Children Act. Then into the second row, which is leading on the right-hand side to our current federal law, which is Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, or IDEA. IDEA, you may hear. So this is our current big governing law. And then what has happened from that then is our reauthorizations. So in that third row, No Child Left Behind Act, that was a big one from 2001 already. And No Child Left Behind is still under IDEA, but it's a reauthorization. So some things were updated because times are changing. There was an IDEA Improvement Act, and then our current law from 2015 is Every Student Succeeds Act, which again is just a reauthorization of IDEA. So I encourage you to take some time and watch this video on your own time, not in tonight's meeting, but just to kind of get an overall, like, this is where it came from, and this is why we have to do these things, because it's actually in federal law. The Office for Special Education and Rehabilitative Services is the federal agency that governs and monitors IDEA, the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. And in the resources is a link to their website. Each state then is responsible to monitor that federal law. State law cannot change federal law, but what it can do is provide further clarification. So the Ohio Department of Education, or ODE, has their interpretation and their support for that federal law of IDEA called the Ohio Operating Standards for the Education of Children with Disabilities. Now, I know that there are some who are super interested in this, so I've included these links to get you to these websites so you can read on your own time and to understand these federal and state laws. Each district then is responsible for developing local policies for how that district is going to support those federal laws. So I just chose a random district that's not in our region, but each district, the Board of Education of those districts is required to have these local policies. So what you can do is you can go on your local school district's website, search for the Board of Education, search for board policies. And when you get to those board policies, you can look to see what those board policies say about family engagement. What do those board policies say about special education? So it's like the local policies and procedures that are occurring in your district. And as I mentioned before, they're not going to be a lot different. They can't be different than state and federal. That's governing what they do, but they may have a little bit of a twist to them, a little bit additional information to support and to assure that those laws are in place. So just to encourage you to go and check those out. Now, some of us, I don't know about you guys, but I'm not an attorney. I'm not a legal advocate. So I know that I'm going to need some support. And we do have that support. You have me, and then you have these additional individuals within our region. So in the state of Ohio, there's a position called a parent mentor. And a parent mentor is an individual who has a child with disabilities, who lives this, breathes this, is familiar with it. It doesn't mean they have a legal degree. Some may, but these are amazing individuals that are hired by a local district or by an ESC, not in the interest of the ESC or the district, but their sole purpose is to support the families of students with disabilities within that locality. In our region, State Support Team 6 region, we have 7 counties. Of those 7 counties, 3 counties have a parent mentor. So Allen, Champaign, and Mercer counties. So Jenna, Jacqueline, and Beth are all ready and available. I've included their email addresses and their phone numbers on the screen. If you have a question about your local policies, your ODEs, state laws, and even IDEA, the federal law, which again governs all of it, these ladies would be the ones to help to support you. If you need resources to support your child with disabilities, these are the ladies to go to. Now, I know that you're looking at this and saying, okay, 3 out of 7 is not bad, but what about those other counties? And that's when we have the Ohio Coalition for the Education of Children with Disabilities. IDEA, that federal law, states that each state must have their Parent Training Information Center. And the coalition, OCECD, the Ohio Coalition for the Education of Children with Disabilities, is Ohio's Parent Training Information Center. This coalition is then divided up by regions, of course, and Erin Hinkle is our information specialist and trainer. I have included Erin's email address and phone number on the screen. So if you live in one of the counties that does not have a parent mentor, or even if you do, you can reach out to Erin for support. I have reached out to all of these ladies personally and professionally, and they have been a great advocate and a great support for myself and my family. So I encourage you. Sometimes you just need to talk to somebody. You just need to get it out and work through it. And these are great examples, great resources for you. For tonight's presentation, I wanted to include a handout for you. So make sure that you check these out or check this out in the description, the video description, so you can access this ahead of time. And the idea behind this is I wanted to include the concept. It's kind of like a note-taking page for you. I wanted to include a resource that you could go back and check out later. And then I wanted to include a space for you to take some notes or think about specifically what is your role in this process? How do you fit into this partnership of special education? I have included a PDF version of this so you can print it off and then write in your notes. And I've also included a Google Doc version so you can actually type right into the document. All the links would be live in either document that you can just click right onto. So hopefully you find that resource beneficial. Central concepts of IDEA, the Individuals with Disability in Education Act. There are actually 6 central concepts. And if you look, parent participation is one of those central concepts. It's key. Parents must be afforded the opportunity to participate in this. We have a series going on right now at State Support Team 6, Lunch and Legal series, which is where we have an attorney from Scott Scriven attend during the lunch hour. And what she does is she presents information about special education to a lot of times the audience is special education directors and other staff members, but it is something that I wanted to share with you, this graphic that they have created. So that's where this information comes from. So what I want to do is I want to talk about each one briefly, and I want to give you a resource that you can refer back to help to support you. If you look at your handout, if you notice on the left-hand side, under concept, the first concept is an appropriate evaluation. The second one is the individualized education program. Those concepts align with these central concepts of IDEA in this graphic. So just to orient yourself to that. So starting with an appropriate evaluation, I mentioned to you that the Ohio Coalition for the Education of Children with Disabilities is Ohio's Parent Training Information Center. They have this amazing resource called Understanding the Evaluation Process. So you as a parent are a key member of this evaluation process. You have a student, your child you are concerned that they may have a disability. So what you would do is you let the school district know that, and you say, I believe that my child has a disability because of X, Y, and Z. So using this resource, you could go through and it gives you information about how you as a parent can support this. So there it is. It's telling you it's under law that you have the right to have your child be evaluated. They may or may not have a disability, but they have the opportunity to be evaluated by that school district. So this is a great resource. It's 52 slides because it is a presentation. This is a PDF version of that presentation. So it's got a lot of great information. And then if you have additional questions about it, you can always reach out to Erin. So here is your role: how to request and begin the evaluation process. If you suspect your child has a disability, this is what you need to do. And it gives you tips on how to do that, and then how to move through that evaluation process. So I encourage you to check that out and use that to support you in the first concept, which is an appropriate evaluation. The second concept of IDEA is the Individualized Education Program, or IEP. The Ohio Coalition has another great resource called What is an IEP? And you know, in education, we love acronyms, but we need to make sure that it's understandable by parents. So an IEP stands for Individualized Education Program. This goes through and describes in this table of contents, what is an IEP? Who are members of the IEP team? What's this thing called a prior written notice? What should be in the IEP? These are key parts of an IEP, and then how to connect if you have questions with the coalition. So you as a parent are a key player in the team. If you look at a student's IEP team, you as the parents are a part of that team. You are not the team. You are not the boss of the team. You are a part of that team. And if you look, there are others like the student, if it's appropriate, regular education teachers, a school district representative, transition services representative, a special education teacher. Those are all key players of this team. So together, these individuals, based on evaluation results, and if it's decided that the student does indeed have a disability, we're going to write an individualized, which is specific to that child, education program to support the student with disabilities. So your role is as a team member. So how to better educate yourself about what an IEP is, what are the components of the IEP. This is a great resource to refer you back to. So make sure you check it out as well. The third concept of IDEA is free appropriate public education, also known as FAPE. Understood.org is another family-friendly resource. It's actually at the national level, but this is where I found this particular handout, which just simply explains what FAPE is. It's what the important legal right means for students who need help in schools. So students with disabilities are guaranteed FAPE, actually free, that's the F, means the government pays for the education of students with disabilities at no cost for families. So there may be some things that families do need to pay for, like school fees, but that's outside of the overall education process. A means appropriate. We need to make sure that it's individualized, that it's specific to the needs of your child. We don't want to do anything that's inappropriate, and we want to meet the levels that your child is at to help them to be successful to reach that one goal that I showed you, one of those 4 E's. P means public. It's supervised by the public school. The IEP team is going to decide what services and supports that student should get. And there may be some instances where the government will pay for students with disabilities to attend a private school. And those are when you look into the different types of scholarships that are available in the state of Ohio. But in general, we need to think of it as this is public education. So as a parent, if you are opting to enroll your child in a private school, that's one thing that I would definitely look into, making sure that FAPE is still an option, or are you giving up FAPE because you are choosing to enroll your child in a private school? In FAPE, E stands for education. Education is that special education, and it can also include related services like physical therapy, speech therapy, teacher of the visually impaired. Those are services that are related to academics that are there in place to support the academics of your child. So this is what FAPE is. Your role as a parent in FAPE is making sure that you are educated in your decision of choosing to move your child from a public school into a private school, for example. Making sure and asking questions, is this education appropriate for my child? So those are some ways that you can engage and be active in FAPE, one of the central concepts of IDEA. The 4th concept is least restrictive environment, or LRE. Least restrictive environment is when you have a student participate. It's not necessarily aware. It's because sometimes it's thought of as a general education classroom, the special education classroom, your county DD, your ESC, or even in a hospital setting or a medical facility. So it's not necessarily the place where where special education is occurring, as much as it is the services and supports that are in place. We want to make sure that our students, children with disabilities, are receiving their free and appropriate public education in the least restrictive environment, where they can most likely be with their grade level peers. Where do they have the greatest opportunity to be with students that are their same age? So in this resource, I've included a short video. This is a 3-minute and 46-second video from OHEs. OHEs is the Ohio Center for Autism and Low Incidence, and they've got a lot of great, amazing resources there to support not just autism and not just low incidence disabilities like sensory disabilities of deafness or blindness, but just disabilities in general. So this is a really nice video to explain what least restrictive environment means. So your role as a parent is to ask those questions. Is the placement of my child and the experiences that my child is receiving, are they occurring in their least restrictive? And restrictive, think about being confined, think about limits. We want to have we don't want to be the most restrictive environment. We want to be the least restrictive. So I encourage you to check out that opportunity as well. Finally, we have arrived at the central concept of parent participation. You are the parent, you as the family member. You have the right Parents of a child with disabilities must be afforded an opportunity to participate in meetings with respect to the identification, evaluation, and educational placement of the child and the provision of FAPE to the child. So identification is, does your child have a disability? We're going to identify them as multiple disabled, as autistic, as other health impairment. So what's that disability category? Evaluate, which means, observations. It could be testing, it could be questionnaires. Evaluate the student, evaluate the families to determine if they do have a disability, to determine where that student will be placed for least restrictive environment, where are they going to receive their education, and making sure that FAPE is in place. So you have the right, you have the opportunity to participate. If you as a parent choose not to participate, that is also your right, but the district must afford you the opportunity. They must give you the opportunity. And they also must give you that opportunity multiple times and a time that is convenient to the best of their ability for you. It doesn't mean necessarily that we can have an IEP meeting or an ETR meeting at 8 o'clock at night, but just be aware of those. Be willing to be a partner. Be willing to flex your schedule at the same way that you're asking a school district to flex their schedule to meet your opportunity to participate fully in your child's special education process. I have included a link here for the parent or the Center for Parent Information, which is another national, another national website that has great information to support parents with different resources along the way. So just understanding, just being fully aware of what your options are. Finally, procedural safeguards. So every parent must be provided these procedural safeguards. In the state of Ohio, this is what ours looks like. So what this means is special education, you must follow certain procedures. And there are safeguards in place to protect those procedures. So if you feel that those procedures are not going the way that they should, it's okay, because you have things in place to support that, and for you to be able to make a complaint, for you to be able to question it and say, no, this is not going the way that it should be. So that's what those safeguards are. So if you're already involved in the special education process, this document is not new to you. This is a requirement of districts to provide this to you. When you look at this document, this is the point that I want to bring to your attention, is that it describes in general what special education is, and your district should have this filled out. So it's editable by your local district. So you can review this document. You can access it at any time and know who to contact at your district and who to contact at the Ohio Department of Education if you have questions. So again, it goes over to your rights. What are your rights? And what your role is in that special education process. The part that I want to refer you to, this is the procedure. If you don't feel that the procedure is going correctly, you have a disagreement with the procedure, this is where you would go, and that's called dispute resolution. So these are your safeguards that are in place. This is your way to say, hey, this is not what it should be. I'm concerned about this. The very first thing that you do is you've got to reach out to your school district. And this is why that partnership is so important. So I encourage you to work with your intervention specialists, to work with your related service providers, to know who your district contact person is for special education. It may be your principal. It may be a person who's just in charge of special education, but it's got to start there. You've got to start with communication with that individual and open communication. Make sure that you are sharing just as much information as they're sharing. So there are processes in place to help to support you. The first process that's in place is administrative review. If you've already talked to your district and you feel that you just are not meeting where you feel that you should be meeting, this is the very first step, is administrative review. So it is possible. These are additional processes you can try. Number 1 is State Support Team 6. Number 2 is your parent mentor. Number 3 is the coalition. So these are all individuals who are in place to help to support you before you get to the next level. And the next level is facilitation. So facilitation is when you have made a complaint to the Ohio Department of Education. They bring in a neutral third party, someone who does not take sides, someone who's there to help to facilitate the meeting between the two of you, between the family and the district, to help you to reach a consensus, to reach an agreement. And it's not to select who's right or who's wrong, but they're trained in this facilitation procedure. They're trained to help you to reach an agreement, to do what's best for your child. And there is no cost to you or the district for facilitation. So think about, as you progress through these, that you want to do talk, communicate, be forthright in your information that you're sharing. Try to have this facilitator come in and help you to reach a consensus. That doesn't always work. And when that doesn't work, when facilitation doesn't work, then you can move into mediation, where you have a third party from the Ohio Department of Education come in to the meeting to help you to reach an agreement. It doesn't mean that this person who's now a mediator, they're not going to take sides to work on behalf of the parent or the district. But mediation is one choice for parents in the district anytime there's a disagreement involving your child's special education. Again, it's free and you can request it at any time. So there is a complaint process, and they have a nice graphic in this procedural safeguards. So you are aware of the steps that you can take. So you don't have to feel like you are all alone, that there's nothing that you can do, because you can do something. But I want to encourage you to try your best. It's a relationship with your school district. And if you are in a relationship that's rainbows and unicorns, I am so proud of you, but not all relationships are like that. There are some bumps in the road, and there are some times that you just need to be able to have some tough conversations, and you want to assure that what's happening for your child is the best for your child, that it's individualized, and it's a program that's going to support their education. So this resource is just to make you aware that you do have rights if there is a disagreement. So I want you to consider, what are some next steps? What are some things that you can do with this information? So you have the note page with all 6 key components of IDEA. Excuse me. So one thing that you could do with this information is just take time to take a deeper dive into the resources that I provided you. Maybe you feel very comfortable with the IEP, but you just want to learn a little bit more about least restrictive environment. You could watch the video that I included from Ocali and check out their other resources that pertain to least restrictive environment, just to educate yourself on it. For example, that would be one idea. You could share it with other families, share this information with other families, friends that you've made, acquaintances that you've made of other families with students with disabilities. As a part of this series, we also want to include a couple of questions to support you in forming this partnership with your child's school district, ESC, or county DD. So I wanted to provide you with a couple questions that you could ask your child's school. One of those could be, do you or we have a parent support group for families of students with disabilities? You may find some that are at the county level. You may find some that are at the state level. but it's also nice to have the support within your district. Not all districts have that. Maybe they do. Maybe you could be a new member, an original member of this. That could be a conversation. It could be a topic that your district special education representative may be willing to discuss with you. And it's really to the advantage of the school district. If you're having these informational sessions, we want to make sure that all the families, that we're all hearing the same message, that we all have the opportunity to learn from each other and to become better, to of course reach that ultimate goal of student success. Another question could be, how do you as a district share information about special education with families? Do you have a place on the school website? Do you have pamphlets or brochures that you share with families about this? In the meeting room where we most often hold our IEP meetings or ETR meetings or planning meetings, do you have a wall that has brochures and pamphlets that can be easily accessed by the school staff to be able to provide to the families? Maybe they have an email that they send out. Maybe they have a newsletter. Ask the district, how do you share information? A third question is, do we have a parent mentor to support families in our district or county? Some school districts have a family liaison or a parent mentor. So it's a question like, who is your go-to person? Who do you have to support? It's neutral, even though they may be paid by the school district. Their role is to be neutral. Their job is to help to support the school district and to support the family for the ultimate goal of that student success. Now, most school districts should know if they have a parent mentor or not, but you may find an instance or two where they may not know. So I'm hoping that these give you 3 examples of questions that you could ask, and maybe even spin off of those for additional information. If you have any general questions, how can we support you? Send those questions to myself or to your parent mentor or to our coalition representative. We are here to support you in this process. As a part of this series, we have some future dates that are coming up. Our next session is in January, and it will be presented by Lisa Height, who is our career tech education consultant. And her topic will be access to career technology programming for students with disabilities. This exact table is on our website at sst6.org. And after we have concluded each presentation, I will take the recording of the presentation and add them to this table so you can access them at any time. Thank you so much for participating in tonight's training and viewing this video at a later time. If you could scan this QR code with your phone, you may have an app to scan it, or you can also do it in some newer phones. You can actually do it with your camera on your phone. Scan this QR code and you will get a link. It will open up a document with some survey questions. And if you could provide that feedback, I would greatly appreciate it so we can make sure that we are meeting your needs and we can make changes to our next presentation. Thank you so much for participating, and I look forward to working with you in the future.